a big part of that desire talk, the wants, is that space, right? The space that you create for yourself to dream and just be in it. Sometimes it doesn't have to always be, you don't have to be in the execution phase right away. It is allowing yourself to see what is possible for you. Like, I wonder what's possible. I wonder what's possible now. I wonder what's possible in a couple months from now. But that goes back to your season.
Welcome to the Raising Wild Hearts podcast. I'm so glad you're here listening in as I get to the heart of the matter with the world's leading experts and authors in personal growth, transformation, positive psychology, and more. If you're a change maker, a cycle breaker, a revolutionary envisioning a more beautiful way to live, work, and play, well, me too. I'm your host, Ryan Watkin, and for the past decade, I've been alchemizing challenges to find the calm in the chaos. I believe we can change the world by starting at home in our own minds and hearts. And my hope is that these conversations are a light on your path. Let's go, wild ones. Hello and welcome back to the Raising Wild Hearts podcast. I'm so happy you're here. Today I am sitting down with Tiffany Lanier. We had such an amazing conversation. I originally interviewed Tiffany when the podcast was the Happy Mom Show. And so maybe you remember Tiffany or maybe you don't. But either way, you are going to see that she is an absolute joy. Tiffany Joy Lanier is a dynamic keynote speaker, facilitator, and expert in personal growth, change, and well-being, helping people own, be, and lead through their most critical shifts. As the founder of the Change as the Catalyst, Tiffany has revolutionized how individuals approach disruption by placing well-being at the heart of transformation. She doesn't just speak about overcoming obstacles, she embodies the art of transforming personal and professional battles into powerful momentum. For more than a decade, Tiffany has worked with thousands of leaders worldwide, helping them rediscover who they are, define what matters, and develop strategies for intentional inward work to build a solid foundation for remarkable outer impact. When industry leaders like Capital One, United Way, and the U.S. Small Business Association need to reimagine resilience, they call Tiffany. Her mission is to prove that life's plot twists are not interruptions that hold us back, but invitations to fuel our potential and catalyze what's next. As you can hear, this is going to be a very, very powerful conversation. Tiffany is so well spoken, and I just couldn't get over how many aha tweetable moments there were in this episode. We talk about a lot. We talk about navigating seasons of change, of course. We talk about rediscovering who we are in the middle of transitions. We talk about her new newsletter called Hitting the Reset Button. We talk about her speaking career. We talk a little bit about motherhood and some things in between too. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode as much as I did. Make sure you're following along on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. And if you're new here, welcome. I can't wait to get to know you more through these interviews that I put out every Monday. All right, let's jump in.
Please note, the opinions and perspectives of guests on the Raising Wild Hearts podcast do not necessarily reflect the views of Ryan Watkin or anyone associated with the Raising Wild Hearts podcast.
Tiffany, welcome back to the Raising Wild Hearts podcast.
It's been a little minute.
It's been a little minute, and we saw each other at a kid's birthday party, which is where we got to reconnect, which was so random and fun, and I loved chatting with you. And now here we are months later after I said, yes, let's do it soon. And then months later, here we are.
You know, it's soon. It's still soon.
Still soon.
Time is a construct. I mean, it just continues to go, right? Like, I don't know. I barely know what month I'm in most of the time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I am so with you. I am so with you on that. And if I had $1 for every time I've said time is an illusion on this podcast, I've had at least $10. It is. It's all just
10.
an illusion. At least 10. At least. Yeah. And I'm coming up actually on the 2-year anniversary of the Raising Wild Hearts podcast. I started it like the week after my 40th birthday 2 years ago. I
Oh,
know. Thank
congratulations.
you. And so this is like a perfect lead up to that. I'm getting like really nostalgic of like, wow, 2 years ago, like looking back as to where I was then. And I think this is like a perfect thing to throw by you because at the time, I did not feel ready. I did not feel like I knew what the hell I was talking about at all. Like I said in the original trailer, like I have no idea what this is, but it's something. So
I'm going
come
with it.
along. Yes, I'm going with it. So come along for the ride. And many of those listening did come along for the ride. And here we are. And so now it's funny 2 years later having this perspective and being able to look back and go, wow, look at how much I've changed and grown and really clarified what I want to talk about. And I think if I did not have the courage to hit the record button, even though I just wasn't quite ready, that I wouldn't be here today. And so let's talk about that a little bit, like navigating those messy middle moments and transitions, so to speak.
Yeah, I love a good I love a good transition. I love that you're talking about starting a podcast because I am considering starting a new podcast and it's been some time.
Ooh.
So, I had two podcasts in a past life, pre-COVID times, and I ran those podcasts probably from 2017, 2018 to almost 2020. And so I've been in this rebirthing era, I feel like probably for the last year. It's probably been longer than a year, but I can like clarify that birthing process and what it feels like in this rebirthing. And I've been like racking my brain, okay, I think it's time. Like I can feel it. Like we all get those little nudges where you're like, it's time to do something else, whatever that something else is. And it's been kind of I can hear that voice, like it's time to speak on these things now. And even though I talk a lot about navigating these moments of change and how we show up for it in the transition, I too felt like, is now the time or should I like hold off, like hit the record button? Like, is now that moment that I hit the record button or should I wait till tomorrow or next week? Um, and obviously there's like other logistical things that I have to consider as well, but I love that at some point we do just have to decide, right? We have to decide like now is the time. I might not fully understand what I'm doing in the fullness of the vision, but I understand that it's on my heart. I understand that it's something that I want to move into. I understand that this is a moment for creating change and opportunity for myself, and that eventually, as usually it does, it all works itself out. It all eventually comes to like, oh, that was the right time. And oh, that does make a lot. Hindsight is 2020, right? So we eventually will find that path was all very purposeful. But even within that, it doesn't make it less scary or less challenging, or that resistance is prevalent and showing up for us, and how do we move through that. And so what I share a lot in my various talks on how we navigate change, one of the primary pillars is to always be curious. Curiosity changes everything for us. And so if we can say like, I wonder what happens when I hit record. I wonder what comes out of my mouth. I wonder what I can share with the world. I wonder if, what's possible in this moment for me. What can I learn? And so even as I'm also contemplating, I'm pretty sure it's happening, it's coming, but I have to ask myself, like, I wonder what's possible when I show up in these spaces with other folks on their podcast, but if I create that space for myself too.
I wonder. I love that simple question. And I'm so curious. You hinted to this a little bit, but how do you deal with fear? It's something that I have needed to kind of, I don't know if overcome is the right word because I don't know if you like overcome fear. For me, it's always like a little prevalent, sometimes more than others. But what's your best tool, tip, trick, hack to work with the fear and allow the fear and still hit record anyway, or write the thing anyway, or do the talk anyway?
I don't know if there's a hack. I mean, I think we can always try to try to simplify and hack verbiage and trying to create, bite-sized tips, but it's more like a practice. I think I like to think of everything as a practice. And you can feel all the fear, right? And you can still do it. We think of fear, our very innate brain, like the fear mechanism that's going off in that like primal lizard brain that we have. We react to these small moments of fear that aren't life or death, almost like we're being, attacked by a bear. So that very primal, like, oh my God, I'm about to die. This feels very uncomfortable to me. I got to run away from this. Even though if I press record, there's no bear attacking me, right? There's nothing that's going to actually harm me, but it still feels like that anyway, right? And so it's, I think, first acknowledging that, like, am I being attacked by a bear? That could be the question. Am I being attacked by a bear right now? Okay, the answer is no. Am I in harm's way right now? No. Can I get really hurt or ill or sick from doing this? And sometimes mentally we can, right? We can make ourselves physically sick in these moments. And we can feel all the things. My stomach hurts, like I'm starting to sweat. All these physical elements that come, that we see, that we feel are real, right? That's us trying to process, this is very uncomfortable for me right now. However, if it's something that is calling you, and we all hear, I'm working on a talk right now called Be the Shift. And I talk about that little voice that we all hear. We all hear that little voice, that little nudge that's saying something needs to change. It's time for something else. I want to be XYZ. I want to be a podcaster. I want to be a writer. I want to be a speaker. I want to be more inspired. I want to feel more whole in my life. I want to lead authentically. I want whatever those moments that we get that cast that desire deep within us. We all hear it all of the time. Do we act on those desires? Sometimes. And sometimes they are like fleeting voices that we just kind of let go and maybe they come back. But fear will tell us now is not the time. I don't know how to do it. I can't do this. And then that in turn is going to cause me harm, right? If I try it and I can't do it and I don't know how to do it and I'm afraid to show up in front of people and they might judge me, then I'm going to be humiliated and I'm going to be judged and I'm going to be all the laundry list of things. But something that we can all consider all the time, because it is a practice, is what do I want to do? Despite the judgment of others, despite the potential humiliation, despite all the things, am I getting attacked by a bear? Yes or no? Am I in harm's way? Yes or no? Is this an opportunity for me to explore something that's new and exciting and something that I hear, that little voice over and over again? Yes. And can I lean into it today? And maybe I record the podcast, but maybe I don't publish it. That's okay too. The act of, right, the practice of, I think a lot of the time we get so caught up in the big outcomes of everything. Everything has to be all or nothing. Everything has to be so big, so grand. And we lose sight on the magic of the moment and just creating, the magic of the moment and just playing with something. So when I talk, and I'm sure you've talked a lot about like creating, different types of practices and routines and rituals and all the things. But if you take the word practice and you apply it to, a dancer who practices, who's rehearsing, they're not performing on the stage, the big stage all the time, but they have to show up to the studio and they got to put in the reps, right? They got to get the movement down. They got to get it in their bones. I talk a lot about with my speaking coach, getting the speech in your bones. Like, it's not just I have a speech and I'm going to go deliver it, but how can I absorb it so much that it's in me? And that's repetition, and that is rehearsal, and that is practice, and that is showing up for it. So, you might see me on stage and be like, wow, that's so great. That's so amazing. But you weren't in me or with me, when I'm in the rehearsal, like going at it, trying to like get it in. And so I think that when it comes to being fearful around anything, we can give ourselves that space and that opportunity to show up for it in any little way. It doesn't have to be a big way, it can be a little way. And we can choose to start without having to announce anything or make it a big deal. Just like try, give it a moment. And that's the practice. The practice is, what can I do today that moves me one step closer to this thing that might be causing me fear? But if I can get on the other side, what are the possibilities there?
Hey, it's me, Ryan. So, something I do every single day to invest in my growth, besides connecting with the humans on this podcast, obviously, is reading. Reading is where it all started for me. I was 5 when I became obsessed with books, writing them, reading them, collecting them. I love how I can get inspired with new ideas and stories and ways to grow. That's why I ask all my guests what they're reading. And finally, you can check out all the book recommendations from the experts and authors on the show in one place at raisingwildhearts.com/books. There are some life changers in there like You Are the Placebo, and a few hidden gems like Sacred Motherhood and Living, Loving, and Learning. So if you want to get your hands on your next great read, check out the full list by heading to raisingwildhearts.com/books. Okay, back to the show. All right, everybody. Bye for now. That was that. That was it. I mean, so good. I'm curious, just in hearing you talk, what rehearsal for speaking engagements looks like. Are you like up in front of your family, like in the living room, like doing your speech, or are you in front of the mirror?
No,
Like, what does that look like?
no. I actually rehearse in a small like dance studio. Actually. So
Okay.
giving examples of dancing and being in studio is something that I do now. I started doing in studio rehearsals probably about 2 years ago. I'm a performer at heart. I started in chorus and show choir and glee, and I had a dream and a vision of like doing Broadway one day, or like that's what I wanted. Unfortunately, I got hurt when I was 18, and so I have a disability now, a lot of foot and ankle issues that don't allow me to dance and jump and leap and all of the things that usually are required to be on Broadway. And so eventually I found my passion for the stage in a different way, and that evolved into speaking, and now my speaking career. And so a couple of years ago, when I was coming back out of maternity leave, and deciding that speaking was going to be my primary career and not just kind of my on the side thing that it pretty much was pre-COVID, I wanted to make it fun and not just, I'm going to go give these presentations and everything so information focused. Like, I wanted to be the performer again. And so I found a local dance studio and I just called them like, I'm not a dancer, but can I rent your studio to like, rehearse my speeches? And they're like, sure. And that like got me into the element of just being like, this is not me just giving this information, but this is a full-on performance. This is me getting to like really take up space on the stage. And so I actually don't perform much in front of family and friends, even though that's usually advice people give. Is you should do this in front of you. I don't know. I don't feel the need to. I feel like it's also very intimidating. Even though they're your family and friends, it's even more intimidating. Like, I can speak in front of strangers all day. It's not very hard because I still do. I do it now. Smaller events or things that my friends might have that they invite me to speak. And so I am in front of them in some capacity, but I don't get in my living room and just and be like, okay, kids, and my husband, just sit here and let me go over my speech with you. No, I take it to
They're
the
like,
studio.
again, mom,
Yeah,
not again.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I just go, and just allow
Yeah.
myself to be there and do the movements and rehearse the lines.
That's so cool. I'm really glad I asked that. And something that you said that really stuck out at me was like, you just called the studio and you asked the question. Like, speaking of fear, you didn't let fear go, like, I don't know, that's weird. I'm not a dancer. I don't do this. I'm a speaker. That no, you called and you asked, and they said, sure.
Yeah, but I don't know that I wasn't fearful. I don't remember. I probably
Okay.
like thought about it. Is that going to be weird?
Yeah,
But I am also a believer that if you don't ask, you never get what you want, right? And so at
that's
the
right.
end of the day, the worst thing anyone can tell you about anything is no. And then you move on and you find somewhere else. And so, yeah. So yes, I don't know. So I don't want to say I was fearless, but I'm pretty sure the mindset, because that's the same mindset I still have today, is if I don't call and I ask, then the answer will always be no. So I may as well just see what they're going to say.
For
And now
sure.
it's, I go in there and I see the owner. She's like, you're practicing for an upcoming speech. Correct. Correct. I'm here. I'm so excited. I had my first in-person or in-studio rehearsal of the year yesterday. So it felt good to be back. I hadn't been there. I wasn't there the whole month of December. So it feels good to be back.
What's the next stage you'll be speaking on? Can you tell us?
I will be in DC for a leadership conference in about 2 weeks.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then I'll be in San Francisco and then I'll be in Vegas. And so yeah,
Wow.
I'm around the country. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. Mhm.
I'm excited for you. So, this lead up to whatever version this is of Tiffany, the
10.0.
navigating 10.0. I know someone asked me yesterday for an interview, how many versions of yourself? I was like, 27 at least,
Uh,
like a lot.
it could be, I just turned 37. So maybe it's the 37th version,
Seriously.
37.0 potentially.
Seriously. Yeah. And so many of us, myself included, have this like resistance to change or this like, no, things are the same. Like, don't let them change around me. And I have a tendency, and I'm sure many relate, to get this like panicky, like, well, it's unknown. It's like this maybe a little bit of fear, but maybe just like so used to the same old thing that it's hard to embrace this change and kind of flow with it. So, how have you
Mhm.
found, especially maybe in those challenging seasons, the postpartum, the COVID, all of that, how have you found it to kind of go with the flow and embrace like the next unfolding of yourself?
So first, I don't flow comes, I'm like, how do I want to put this? There is a go with the flow, but it's also a practice. And so you'll hear me say it over and over again. The practice is where it's at because I have several different frameworks around how we move through change. And it's a developmental thing that we can do with ourselves. It's like exercising, it's developing a muscle, if you will. It's not just, oh shit, everything is crashing around me. I'm just going to go with the flow. No. Eventually, you might have built up such a level of resilience within yourself that even the toughest of times and situations, you now have some tools in your toolkit that you can pull from that allows you to ease through it just a little bit better. It doesn't mean you're immune from it. It doesn't mean that it doesn't feel challenging. It doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt. It doesn't like you're not absent and you never will be absent of any of those things. And I think that's important to reference because we have this tendency to think like, all the personal development and all the growth work and all the mindset things, if we just do all the things, then we like become like immune or like some kind of superhero, which I do believe that we do become more super in our ability to navigate. But it doesn't mean that we don't get to feel the feelings and that we don't get to experience whatever comes with it in real time. And so I have two children. One, my daughter will be 10, which is bananas. I'm in
Bananas.
March, and my son just turned 4. And navigating those pregnancies were were different. My postpartum experiences were different, probably because I had such a well of knowledge from the first child that doesn't immune you to what the second child or maybe third child or fourth child then brings, right? But with my first, I went through a very complicated pregnancy, and that presented a slew of challenges in the midst of. I think that year I had just started my online business, personal brand. Like that's when I was just really beginning. That was 2014. And 3 months after I launched, I found out I was pregnant. And I'm like, well, this is not the best timing. This is not great. And 8 months before all of that, I had just moved to Colorado from Florida. And so talk about in 1 year's time, I had moved across the country with my then boyfriend that I had only been with for 6 months, by the way. He's my husband now. So, it works out eventually. But I took this big leap of faith to leave the state that I'm in with someone, move across country, fast forward, need to find my bearings in this new state with new people, new clients, all the things, start a new version of my business, find out I'm pregnant, and now I'm having complications that were life-threatening at the time. Talk about a whirlwind of absolute, utter chaos, just pure chaos in what felt like every which way. And that was really the beginning of me, I think, analyzing the depth of how we respond and how we experience these moments of change. Granted, that was not my work back then, but it planted a lot of seeds within me that I think turned into my work eventually. Overcame those complications and then postpartum depression. And man, I thought the year before was crazy. That damn near took me out, trying to first identify as I'm a new mom, right? There's no roadmap. Nobody told me how exactly it was going to go down. And even if they did, I'm sure my experience is different than your experience or other people's experience, right? And so I'm navigating this identity shift within myself that I have to address eventually. And I have a new person that I have to take care of. And I'm trying to still run a business, and I'm all the things. And I'm positive, everyone comes to me for positivity and clarity and motivation. And I'm that person, I'm that girl for you. And here I am, unclear, not knowing what I'm doing with my life and feeling like a fraud in the process. All of that is marinating. And it was just such a challenging period. And one of the things that helped me start to navigate out was a mentor who asked me, what do you do in the morning? And I was like, try to survive. What are you talking about? I'm up all night, all the things. But her point was really, are you doing anything that helps you take care of you as you are pouring into all of the things? And I'm like, girl, no. When do I have time for that? I'm up all night
for that.
I have to wake up, get her situated, get myself situated. I have client calls. I got videos to make. I got podcasts to record. I don't know. The list is long. The list is always listing. And when? And she's like, you get to decide. It's not just gonna, it doesn't just speak, it's not just created. You have to create it. And that was this turning moment for me that I'm like, you have to create this. You have to give yourself some time. You have to ask for what you need because you're pretending like you're Superwoman over here wearing all the capes, all the things, flying high, but you're really low, right? You're pretending to fly. And that's when, I'm like, mom,
Mommy,
if you could watch my daughter so that I can meditate, what, who asked, you think of when you're trying to get childcare, you're like, it's because I have this work related thing I need to do. I got to go to an event. I got to go do something. So I need childcare. You don't always consider, I need childcare so that I can meditate right now.
Right.
I need childcare so that I can journal, so that I can breathe for a moment and just like take care of myself, not take care of errands and doctor's appointments and all, but I just really want to take care of myself. Can you watch for this moment? Right. And that was that turning point of being like, oh, I have to pause. At some point, I have to pause. At some point, I have to reassess how I'm moving through this moment because the moments keep moving. Time keeps going, right? Time just flies. Before you know it, it's been a couple of months, it's been a couple of years, and you're like, hi, I'm still in the same place, or I'm still going through this challenge. It's because you didn't pause. You didn't allow for a space of discovery, of even tapping in. I talked about being curious. You have to create space to be curious, to allow for your imagination to take hold, for new possibilities to be planted. And so if we don't create that time, create that space for change, then we can't expect the change that we want to see come to fruition, even in the times when we're going through something like a pandemic or, unexpected change that just natural disasters, right? I think about family and friends too. I'm from Los Angeles, and that has been very challenging these last couple of weeks. Overnight, you're right. You just live in your life one day, and the next day you don't have a house. That's something you can't quite plan for. And so it's in these moments where there's change that you want to see come to life or change that is just thrown upon you. There's a pause somewhere in there because if you don't, you can't begin to think about what your next steps are. I feel like I went in a circle to come back to the initial question, but in order to move through these moments of change, one of the initial steps is pausing enough to say, what do I need? I talked about this in my TEDx talk. What do I need today? What do I need in this moment? What do I need right now? And a breath to hear what that answer is, right? So that pause is important, that ability to discover in this moment. I talk a lot about rooting in ritual work, which is a part of the pausing, or it helps you to pause. So that to me is like the beginning work that helps you start that transitional space, no matter what type of change you're experiencing.
Yeah. So beautiful. Mornings, do you still have a morning practice? I'm assuming that you still do.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So my
Yeah.
TEDx talk is the power of one morning question.
Uh-huh.
And I already spoiled it, but you should still go watch it anyway.
We'll link it up down there.
What do I need today? Right? Like that's the morning question. That's the question I still ask myself every single morning before my feet touch the ground. It is, what do I need today? And I allow for me to just process. It doesn't have to be like this profound, like I need to just revolutionize my life. Girl, you're dehydrated. You need more water, right? Like that could be the need in the moment. You actually need to slow down a little bit and maybe not rush to do XYZ thing. Maybe a workout is actually more important than meditating today. So why don't you do that instead if you don't have the time to do both? Like just giving yourself that space before you got to go answer to everybody else, do everything else. That's the ritual in itself. Even before you ever touch the ground to meditate or get on the bike to spin, these are all my things. The ritual started at the question, and then you lead the rest of the day.
When you said that question, what do I need today? I got this sense in my body that just this overwhelming sense of calm, because it just feels so calming to ask yourself what you need. And the answer, like you already said, does not have to be something grand. It can be a glass of water. It can be a walk around the block. And for us to pause and ask ourselves a question like that is the ultimate care of self-love, self-care, etc. And so I love that. I'm on week 6 of waking up early. Like the only time I can do it in my house is to get up early. And that means my alarm is set right now for 5:22. And that's like the time. And it's felt really good. And some days, like I'll still be resistant to it. Like if my toddler woke up in the night, if one of my big kids woke up in the night, like, if I just am feeling like a little off and I'm like, I just really need to sleep more. And yet I'm still, no matter how tired I am, crawling myself out of bed and sitting down and doing this practice that I've, dedicated and decided felt nourishing. Until that changes, it will stay what it is. And it's this combination of movement and meditation. One of the questions I've been asking when I'm when I am able to get to that calm spot is, what do I desire? So, like, what do I want? So, like, that's a step above, like, what do I need? And then it's like, what do I want? So, what is your take on desire and like these wishes and dreams that you have for yourself? Because you've got big dreams. I mean,
Mhm.
you can tell. So, what's your take on the dreaming into it?
I think that's the next so that's the next question.
Next question,
I do
please.
like a series. It's what do I need? What do I want? And what's the next best way for me to get there? Like this is my alignment question, right? What's the
Mm,
next best one way? There's 1,000 ways, but what's the next best thing that I can do to move closer? And there's this intersection of need and want. Um, what do I need in this season of my life? Because even to go to your point about waking up at 5 in the morning, I taught morning routines and rituals for a long time. I have still a company to this day. I call it the morning shift. And so creating space in the mornings has always been and has been probably since coming out of that postpartum era with my first child, really important to me. And I still share, that's why I did the TEDx talk about it. I do experiences called the morning shift for companies and conferences now. So that's how I've expanded that work. Thinking about bringing it back to individuals, but that's here or there. We'll see. I'm in the reset era of a lot of things. But a big part of that desire talk, the wants, is that space, right? The space that you create for yourself to dream and just be in it. Sometimes it doesn't have to always be, you don't have to be in the execution phase right away. It is allowing yourself to see what is possible for you. Like, I wonder what's possible. I wonder what's possible now. I wonder what's possible in a couple months from now. But that goes back to your season. And as someone who is a recovering workaholic, I'm a Capricorn. So it's literally written in the stars for me, and I fight it so much. I have to allow these seasons of change to move differently when I need to move differently. A lot of the time, we don't allow ourselves to move through seasons the way in which our body or our mind is calling. We're trying to just move as usual. We're trying to just do what we've always done. We're trying to keep the routine and maintain the dream or the vision, even though shit is moving. I hope I can curse on here. I'm sorry. Things
Totally.
are
Curse away.
moving, and they might be moving differently. Going back to the first pregnancy story, Capricorn, entrepreneur, big visions, big dreams. Now you're having a baby, right? And now you're going through this whole postpartum phase that has me in just like a whirlwind. Time had shifted. I could not continue to do the same things that I was doing just a few months prior. I couldn't do the same things I was trying to do a few months prior when the complications started to hit. I had to pivot. I had to allow myself to say, yes, the desire and the dreams are there. I want those things, but maybe it's not this exact thing right now. And did I fight it? 100%. But that also led to deepening the depression. It also led to feeling like I wasn't living out everything that I said that I was. And then I was angry and then I was mad and then there's shame. And then, like, I mean, all of that is a part of the resistance, right? When we talk about resistance to change, When we don't give ourselves the space that we need to grow through these different seasons, we'll find ourselves angry, mad, depressed, anxiety ridden, dissociated from our own realities because we won't allow. There's some surrender here, right? There's some acceptance here. There's some allowance here that every season is my season. That's how I view it now. Every season is my season, but doesn't mean that's going to be a season of exponential growth or financial success. It just means that this might be a season of slowness. And maybe that's what I need. Maybe my focus is not work centric as much as it is home centric, kid centric. Maybe this is my writing season. Maybe this is my podcast era, but it might not be my podcast writing, speaking on stages, also top tier mommying and everything to everybody. Like that might not be the season I'm in. And many of us probably are never in all of those things at the same time, but boy, do we try to fit it all in. Right. And that leads to that not the desires of the heart being conflicted. And so when we talk, we're bringing it back, when we talk about dream space and desire space, yes, and what am I dreaming and desiring for this season? And can some of my dreams and desires be put in a little jar? And maybe I'll come back to some of those and that be okay too. Yeah. And that just takes a practice of acceptance and surrendering and allowing. And that's the space that I've actually been in a lot these last couple of years. I only had the capacity to speak. That's why I stopped doing my newsletter. That's why I didn't do a podcast. That's why I didn't shoot a video. I only had the capacity to show up on stages and speak. And I had to allow that to be good enough. People, even when I would speak, be like, do you have a book coming out? No. Do you have a course I can be in? Nope. I have nothing for you besides my presence in this moment. I hope that it was enough for now. But stay tuned. Stay tuned. There's more to come. Can't tell you when, but there's more to come. And I just wrote an email to my list for the first time in like years, talking about my new newsletter. It's called The Reset Button, because I told you I'm in the era. And I'm doing that on Sundays. And I did this long email that basically said, hey, I don't know when you gave me your email. It could have been pre-COVID, could have been at a speaking engagement over the last 2 years. But whenever you gave it, thank you. I'm back. I'm here. And I have the capacity to now show up for all of you in this way that I have not been able to before. And that is my truth. And that is honesty. And I practice what I preach. So there's that.
That's big. I resonate with so much of that. I too was just trying to figure out like, okay, I got to get my email list back. Where did I get these people's email from? I mean, it's over like the last like 7 years and I'm going, God, what was I doing 7 years ago? What was I talking about? Everything has changed. Everything is different. I am different. The world is different, and I have had to work through some of, I don't know if it's embarrassment, but some of this like, oh, that didn't work out, but look, now I'm doing this. And I've had to like really kind of like allow what's on my heart now and what I'm talking about now to be enough, similar to what you said. Like, this is who I am now. Come with me or don't, and it's not like, come on.
It's okay. No hard feelings. I literally wrote that in the newsletter. Yeah. This is my opportunity to tell you what my new newsletter is going to be about. If you decide to unsubscribe, no hard feelings. I get it. Cause I just rolled up in your email, in your inbox all willy nilly. Like, who are you? And that's okay.
Totally. Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like writing it the way that I did, and I had several friends and past clients be like, oh my God, like I read your newsletter and I was like, oh, you did read it, or you got it. It was such a weight lifted.
Yeah.
Because I rolled in fully authentic in my voice, not trying to sugarcoat, also not giving you a ton of explanation. I'm going to say that for the podcast, of like what the last couple of years might have looked like. And even, I'll send this podcast. I'm like, this one, I'm sharing a lot of behind the scenes of what has been, happening and going on. But this is just where I am. And this is, I did a little picture and I was like, this is me Picture's cute, just to jog your memory in case you don't know who I look, what I look like and who I am. Um, but this is where we are. And you're welcome to stay for this part of my journey. And if this is where it ends, okay. And I
Yeah.
create space for new people to come and join me. But I don't have the time or energy or desire. Speaking of desires, I don't have the desire to be anything that I'm not, to show up any way that I'm not. I don't feel like I never have and I never will. And I damn sure ain't doing it now because now I'm older and I just don't have time. I don't have the time. So I'm not. So this is who I am. This is what you get. And I'm proud of who I am. And I'm proud of the journey. And I'm proud of my knowledge and my wisdom and the hard-earned, challenges of change that allowed me to be exactly where I am right now.
Yeah. We've all gotten that random email from that person who we're like, who the hell is this? And like, if we
What?
like what we have to say, what they have to say, like maybe we keep around and then maybe we're like, unsubscribe. I don't remember you. So yeah, either
Yeah.
way, it's
Stick
like
around or don't.
stick around or don't. And happy belated birthday, Capricorn. Speaking of
Thank you.
workaholic who was on LinkedIn at the spa.
Correct. For a moment. Okay. I know. I texted a friend of mine and I'm like, this is such a, because she's a Capricorn too.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm at the spa writing, I was writing something. And she's like, can you please get off? I was like, she's like, that's so much like us, but get off. And I was like, I only designated an hour. I said, you
Yeah.
can do this for an hour so that it's not carrying. See, that's another thing. I didn't want to carry that, like, I had these things that I needed to do or wanted to do with me and ruin my spa day. So I just needed to get them done, move them out the way, and then I could relax. And I did. And so you got to do what's best for you.
That's
But
right.
also, I didn't intend to work all day while I was at the spa. And so I didn't. So be true to your word, do what you need to do, and then do what you want to do and what you desire to do. And then hit all the markers.
Yes. So, where can all the people find you, follow you, and learn more about the amazing things that you're doing in the world?
Yeah. So if you are someone who hires speakers, you can find me at tiffanyjoylanier.com. That site's pretty much geared toward event organizers and those who want to hire me to speak. So as far as a non-organizer, social media is really where I'm starting to redevelop in my newsletter. So the Reset Button newsletter, and I'll make sure to give you the link so you can have that in the show notes that you can send over to folks. But you can find me on Instagram at Live with Tiffany. I'm going to be rebooting my YouTube channel. I'm in a reboot, so you'll be seeing the YouTube channel videos and the podcast. All that's in the pipeline over the next couple of months. So definitely Live with Tiffany, pretty much. If you put that in Google, you'll find me. And then come along for the ride.
Amazing. Thank you for walking the talk and showing up as this leader who is ever evolving and is true to that. Because I think that if we're not evolving, then what's the point? And you're just modeling how to do it with such grace and beauty that I am in awe and I'm very thankful to be connected with you.
Oh, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. And the last questions I have for you are the three questions I ask everybody at the end of the podcast, kind of like a lightning round. And the first one is, what's bringing you joy today?
Oh, what's bringing me joy? I love a good matcha. So I had like a matcha protein shake. So
Ooh,
that brought me joy today, along with my little workout that I got in. So that brought me joy.
amazing. What, if anything, are you reading right now? What's on your bookshelf?
I just wrapped up Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. Because I'm claiming this year is my year of yes. And so that book I just wrapped up. So, but then I have a plethora of other books, in the docket.
Always books in the queue, for sure. I get that. And then the last question I have for you is, who or what has taught you the most?
Who or what has taught me the most? Myself.
Mm,
That's
amen.
it. Me. Everything comes to and through me.
hmm
Mhm.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing all of you with us today.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun. So happy to reconnect.
Hi again, friend. If you're listening to this, you made it to the end of a Raising Wild Hearts episode. Yay! Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you can hear more amazing conversations just like this one. And here's the deal. If you made it this far, go ahead and hop down on your podcast app and rate and review the show. Your words and 5 stars truly mean the world to me. Thank you for your support of the show. Thank you for showing up and listening week after week. I will be dropping new episodes every Monday, so tune in then, and I will talk to you soon.